Yo, yo,
That
yo,
BBC is
what
okay.
is up? That BBC is okay. And you are
BBC
here
are my activists.
listening to another episode of Freaks and Peaks. Till further notice, it's our official podcast under construction, but this is what, like the fifth or so episode of Freaks and Peaks while we keep it going. We got the homies in the voice chat from left to right on your screen. We got Cosmic Kaiser. We got Despair. We got Follow Your Dreams. And we got Kid Crazy. And of course, homie, Super. What up, Ninja Keaton? What up? Coop Rome, thank you so much for the raid, man. What's up, guys? So, got a list of things on. We could try and keep it together and keep moving. I know, Follow, you wanted to start off. We could probably start off with that unless you guys want to start off with something else.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we should just get it out the way. The fucking, the Microsoft Activision deal. Might as well talk about it real quick.
Yeah. We can start with that.
All right. So I'll give a quick lowdown timeline on this shit. All right. So real quick, just to summarize shit. So this shit started like January 18th, 2022. Microsoft wanted to buy Activision Blizzard. So for those who don't know what it is, Activision is the company that basically, that's Call of Duty, Blizzard, come on. Like, it's like one of the biggest companies out there. Right.
It was the biggest news and biggest like acquisition drop of when was it? Like 2020, was it 2022, right?
I don't even remember.
It's been a while now.
January 18th for 2022, and they were going to acquire them for $68.7 billion.
Jesus. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. No.
Yeah, that's
Overwatch. Hold on. I'm gonna give everyone.
He's gonna give
the
timeline.
Okay,
I'm gonna give the lowdown. All right. So then January they announced this, and then in April, a bunch of politicians were like, "I don't know about this." So like you have people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and stuff like that, saying like raising concerns that this deal could basically, I don't know, they were worried about it. So then August comes and Xbox builds a website to the public saying like that I'm hearing myself, Freak.
Oh, sorry, my bad. What? How are you hearing yourself?
I don't know. I'm hearing.
Yeah, I was hearing them twice too. Yeah.
Yes, same.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't hear myself now. No idea. But in any case, so on August they built a website kind of selling it to the public. Hey guys, this would be awesome. If Microsoft bought it, it'd be better for everyone. You know who didn't believe that shit? Sony. Sony didn't believe that shit. So in September, Xbox assures like, hey, they're gonna launch Call of Duty, still gonna launch on PlayStation just because they're buying the franchise or whatever. It's no big deal. Everything's gonna be the same. And then throughout the next few months, like especially in September, PlayStation's, particularly from like Jim Ryan, he's like, nah, bro, I don't believe it. This is bullshit. You're gonna pull some bullshit. So there's tons of drama, right? So while it was being challenged in the US, right, to see if it's legal enough for them to proceed with the acquisition, the UK had its concerns, right? Because they're saying that it could stifle competition, things of that nature. So a bunch of time passes where they go back and forth, right? So then November 2022, Xbox is like, all right, look, just to guarantee you, Sony, that everything's gonna be cool, we'll offer you a 10-year deal guaranteed to keep Call of Duty on the platform. So no matter what you do, what we do ultimately, like, it's a good deal. So then in December, it didn't work because the FTC sues to block the acquisition. So this is all on the US side here, right? Then Xbox starts getting a little bit salty about Sony and saying Sony's just wants to keep Xbox down. And, so there's a lot of like hits here and there, back and forth. So then January of this year, the UK it says the CMA extends their investigation into the acquisition, right? And the UK CMA stands for the Competition and Markets Authority. So basically, they just want to make sure everything is good in terms of competition and stuff like that. And long story short, throughout these few months, the UK CMA was like warning Microsoft, "Hey man, we don't want this." Blah blah blah. So it turns out what just came out today was essentially blocked by the British regulators. So that's what kind of comes recently. So they blocked the $69 billion purchase because they think it's like a substantial loss of competition, and they want to prohibit the merger. And basically Microsoft is all like, hey man, we're not giving up on this. So that's basically where we are now. And in between then, like, it wasn't just Sony against them, it was also Nvidia, Nintendo, but Microsoft seemed to appease Nintendo and Nvidia by doing a 10-year deal with them. For Nintendo, it's a benefit because I don't think, was there a Call of Duty on Nintendo really? Not really,
There
right?
was, but
No,
Nintendo
no,
doesn't
but they-
necessarily
they-
care. I'm gonna let
yeah, they
everybody else talk
were-
because I have some shit to say about this.
Yeah, they were promising that they were going to release Call of Duty on the next Nintendo console, like several like iterations of it. What that looked like, we don't know. Everyone speculates that it was going to be cloud. But I guess I could just kind of, well, thank you for the rundown, Fowler, first of all.
Yeah, that's
I think
that's the lowdown as best as I could do it.
it was like one of the biggest, it's the biggest video game merger acquisition in history, right? And I think that the concern about the biggest concern was like Microsoft was building this monopoly, right? I think when it was first announced, my biggest concern about the whole thing was just like, and I think I had brought it up in one of the streams that we were doing then, the gaming division of Microsoft is, I don't have the exact number at the time I did, but I think it was around like 14 to 15% of the profit margin of Microsoft. Like, it is literally like their throwaway portion. So for them to spend 7.4 billion, whatever it was for the acquisition of Activision, it was like literally a drop in the bucket for them. And that just scared the shit out of Sony and Nintendo to the point where they did what they can to try and block it, and then it started to build steam, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a monopoly. This is going to be something that's going to be a concern. I think it doesn't affect Microsoft either way, whether or not this deal goes through. They still have Bethesda. They're still pumping out shitty games, which we'll get to in a minute. They're barely pumping out first party titles as it is, but their major cash cow right now is the Game Pass. I think they really don't give a shit as long as they could keep putting games on the Game Pass. That's what this whole acquisition was about, to put Call of Duty on the Game Pass, give it to Sony, and have it sell on their consoles. But really, like, who's gonna pay for it when you just pay $16 a month or whatever, and you could play it on any Xbox console you got?
Right.
I got more to say about it, but I think it kind of fits into like the other things that we'll talk about. So
yeah. So I just think I think Sony is thinking because you also got to take into acquisition that, Sony and Microsoft, especially throughout the 2000s when they first debuted at the Xbox, been basically rivals, right? So I guess from the Sony perspective, it's like, oh yeah, sure, they're gonna release it in our systems, but they're gonna release shitty versions in our systems, which, I mean, it unfortunately is a thing, right? There are certain games on certain consoles, and they work better on certain consoles in comparison to others. Now, like, if I owned Microsoft, let's just say for argument's sake, and then my thing was like, on multiple platforms, would I want it to work the best on Xbox? And my answer would be yes. So I could see Sony's complaints about it, but I don't know, Sony's a little bit hypocritical with all that, right? Because it's like they own movies, they own like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, it feels very middle school drama, like under the blanket of all this complicated political stuff. It feels very middle school.
no, yeah, for sure. Despair, you want to say? You want to say something, or anybody else want to talk first?
Spare?
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna be honest with you. there's if there was no like precedent to all this, like if Microsoft, let's say Microsoft was still putting out like quality stuff, Microsoft was still pumping out like, you know, actual exclusive games and shit like that, right? And they had more like better press, because lately obviously Xbox Game Studios has been kind of shitting bricks. The last
Right.
good game that was good was a game that they barely even marketed. Fucking what was the name of it? Hi-Fi Rush. They barely marketed the game. They didn't even think the game was going to be that as good as it was. The game comes out, it surprises everybody. The game is amazing. They still don't talk about it. They still don't promote it. So they promote these games from, you know, the typical studios. They have Bethesda now, so they have Arcane, they have fucking id Software, they have all this shit, right? They have all these studios. Keep in mind, let's go back like a decade ago, right? Microsoft acquired Rare. Microsoft got Tango, Bethesda, id Software. Who else do they have? They got 343, the Coalition. They have Ninja. They bought Ninja Theory. I guess Obsidian came with fucking Bethesda, right? They have all these studios, right? And they do absolutely nothing with them. They bought Rare, what, like 15 years ago? Did over 15 years ago. Did nothing with them. They buy all these studios and they do nothing. Meanwhile, Sony buys studios. At least Sony is putting out games, right? At least Sony is putting some of these studios to work and putting out shit. Whether they're good or not is besides the point, right? Like, right. I'm looking at a list of all these studios that Microsoft has acquired over the past 15 years, and they've done nothing with the majority of them. And if they did, it was like smaller scale games, like Hi-Fi Rush, right? Like, it's like smaller scale games that they don't push, they don't market, and then they wonder why people don't buy this shit. Like, this was the first generation where I did not buy the Xbox console, because what is the point of buying an Xbox this generation? Especially if you have a PC, there's literally no point. None. Like, and for their argument against people trying to, you know, combat their acquisition is that Sony has been doing all this stuff. Sony's been acquiring all these studios. Sony has been like, what did they say? They said Sony has like been in the background, like funding some of these studios to have exclusives on their platform and make their games perform better on their platform. The problem is, even if Sony didn't give them the extra money to do that, don't you think they would do that anyway? Because the PS5 has outsold the Xbox fucking tremendously. So why wouldn't they do that? They're going to do that anyway. So I feel like you said, this is like a whole petty back and forth thing between like Microsoft and Sony, as it usually is, right? But it's more apparent now because Xbox is flopping harder than it ever has. That's why it's more apparent now. And I'm like, if that's your argument, like that, first of all, you're trying to acquire one of the biggest fucking publishers on the fucking planet. Probably the biggest right now, right? EA ain't doing shit.
Right.
But,
I mean, there's nothing bigger than Call of Duty these days. As much as
only thing that's bigger is probably Fortnite, right?
It's not even Call of Duty. Yeah, but it's not even Call of Duty, bro. Activision Blizzard has literally every game that you can probably, if any game you could probably think of off the top, is probably an Activision Blizzard game. Overwatch, Call of Duty, Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo comes out next month.
Skyrim or whatever.
Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, all these fucking games. There's a shit ton of games, bro. Like, Activision has literally, like, Tony Hawk. They have so much shit. If you buy no one should be able to buy a publisher like that, right? Because the biggest issue is it stifles competition. And people say that, people are like, nah, man, they're just buying one company. No, because that's gonna lead to Microsoft doing that. Like you said, the Xbox game division is like a drop in the fucking. It's like a. Bruh. Microsoft don't give a fuck about the Xbox game division. They can cut that shit off and they'd be perfectly fine. They wouldn't give a shit. They could literally not make any more Xboxes, completely cut off the Xbox game division, and they'd be fine, right? Sony, on the other hand, can't do that, really. I don't think Sony can do that. They can't cut off their console section and be like, we're not gonna take a loss. It's fine. Yeah. Sony, on the other hand, Microsoft's money dwarfs Sony, right? So for Sony to be able to go out and acquire studios, keep in mind that we're already making games on their platforms anyway. Like, let's say Sony were to go out and try to acquire Square Enix or something like that, right? We wouldn't be surprised because most of their games are like tied to Sony shit anyway, right? No one would be mad about that. We wouldn't care. Like, the biggest issue is Activision games are still on every single platform. Every single one. Crash Bandicoot's on every single platform. Fucking Call of Duty. I'm pretty sure there was a Call of Duty on Nintendo shit. Probably not the recent ones because whatever. But yeah, every other game is on there. Isn't Overwatch on the Switch too? Overwatch is on that shit. Every game is on the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Like-
Xbox was basically making an example of like, hey man, we own Minecraft and we let it, like, everything worked out then. Like, I
So-
don't see what the big deal is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the big deal is you start doing that. It might not be a drop in the hat for you,
Mhm.
but you start doing shit like that. How are other people going to compete? The only people that really can compete but don't want to compete is Nintendo, right? They don't give a fuck. But Sony's not going to try to go out and buy like EA. You know what I mean? Sony's not going to go out and try to buy like fucking. Then again, what are the other biggest publishers? It's just Activision. Activision and EA are the biggest fucking publishers, right?
I think they did
Like-
make an
Yeah.
attempt to buy
Yeah.
EA, but I think it went down because EA was just like they just wanted too much. They were like, we're worth
Yeah.
this much, and Sony
Yeah.
was just like, haha, no.
Exactly.
You know,
Because Sony doesn't have
it-
that kind of Microsoft money. Microsoft would be like, all right, cool. Here you go, EA. Boom. Like,
Well, that's
you know,
the
there is.
argument,
that's the problem.
Mhm.
Like,
and that is the problem. But
like
so
Sony can't do that shit. That's their argument. Like Sony knows, like they can go buy like these little, third party studios like Square or fucking. They probably can't even buy Square at this point, to be honest. Who else? I can't even think of any other studio because Activision is just so fucking prolific. Activision is so big.
Mhm,
That-
yeah.
Yeah.
That is the
it's so-
that would be the acquisition of our fucking generation. That would be it.
You-
Like,
You know why it's so hard to think about like different companies? It's
Mhm.
because it was like at the start, like I'd say like around 2020 is when like a bunch of companies started buying up a bunch of other companies. So now you don't even know.
but they were buying
Like, for
smaller
example-
companies. Like they were buying
Yeah,
like
yeah,
smaller
yeah.
companies and like maybe like come up companies that were like coming up. So they snatched them up before they like blew up. Like
Yeah.
Activision's been around since we were kids, bro. Activision's been making games
Yeah.
as a publisher for
90s.
over like 2 decades. So
Yeah.
that's different from buying like a FromSoft or something, right? Like yeah, FromSoft
Oh, right,
has
right,
been
right.
around.
Yeah.
FromSoft has been around, but they weren't the FromSoft that we know until the Soul series started blowing up, right? That's different, right? But
Yeah.
my fault. Go ahead.
No. I wasn't equating it to be the same thing. I was just
Mhm.
saying like it's hard for me to think of it because it's been going on a smaller scale.
Mhm.
Where I remember like maybe say 15, 20 years ago, I can name a bunch of companies that did, oh yeah, they did this, they did that.
Mhm.
And then you just find out like everything's owned. Like for example, when Square Enix owned Deus Ex and Tomb
Mhm.
Raider and blah, blah, blah.
Eidos.
Like
Mhm.
all of those used to be part of something else, which we own, like Eidos and
Mhm.
and so like nowadays it feels like, man, it's only like it feels like I don't know, 5 to 8 companies. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
As
Well,
far
that
as
was-
no, sorry, go ahead, go crazy.
So when all the acquirements were happening, it was when I would say the middle of the recession that we were personally all going through. So all those smaller companies that popped up, all were being bought because they were trying to create. There was so much competition, but a lot of those smaller companies weren't able to be funded as well. And I remember when iOS got bought, Square Enix was trying to reach into the Western market, and then it just tanked for them. So they sold it off, like they just released them entirely.
Ironically, because
Ironically,
they didn't tank at all. They did pretty well. Square is just stupid. But regardless, yeah.
yeah, you remember to their standards, it wasn't to what Square Enix standards was and all that stuff.
Mhm.
For me personally, the whole acquisition, I was scared about it was because it's Microsoft is a $1 trillion company in comparison to Sony, right? And Sony does have its money in other markets, but it's like a $1 trillion company, tech company going after the biggest acquisition in gaming for the last 30 years. It would create such a monopoly that it doesn't matter if you have a Sony console or not. You have to get the Game Pass if you want to play these games. And not everyone, I find Game Pass is amazing, especially if you have a PC, but not everyone wants cloud gaming, and they're
Mhm.
forcing that right now into it. Like, they don't care about their hardware. That's why everything's tanking. They're just like, well, we want games or services. We want to be the Netflix of video games. Who cares? Like, we're going to have cloud gaming. That's the future. That's what they're trying to create. And not everyone is sold on that. Like, especially us. Our generation is like, we want the digital or physical media will always outperform cloud gaming. It just there's less latency, there's less issues, there's less everything that we know of because unfortunately we just don't have the infrastructure for cloud gaming that they do in Japan.
Well, we
They're
don't know
gonna-
that yet.
Yeah,
That's you can't really say that because
Yeah.
we said that about digital downloads and shit like that 10 years ago. But internet
now.
nowadays is totally
Yeah.
different than what it was 10 years ago.
for
So
now.
I don't really think that that's a major argument, mainly because when you're a company like this, you don't invest in the here and now. You invest in the future. That's the point. Like if cloud gaming is something that's on the table right now, of course it's like what was the Google thing? Stadia.
Stadia?
Yeah, like they took a hit. They did that shit, and it was actually okay, right? If you had the internet to actually run the shit properly,
And
right? It was
and
okay.
you were close enough to one
Like,
of their servers.
yeah,
to,
exactly.
You know, yeah.
So when you see shit like that, right? Stadia flopped so that whatever comes out in the future can run, right? So when you invest in stuff I'm all for personally, I'm all for the investment into like cloud gaming and stuff like that. Like obviously we all want to I mean, to be fair, we don't own our games anymore anyway. Anyone that buys games digitally, we don't own shit anyway. So
Yeah.
that argument's out the window. So I'm all for the cloud gaming future, right? If we can get it right. So I'm not really gonna hold them on that. I'm more so the problem for me, right, is that Microsoft is literally just saying, check out my big ass dick, right? We're gonna buy Activision. That's Blizzard. We're gonna have all this shit in our stable, right? And no one can do shit about it. Because think about it this way. Microsoft does not give a fuck about whether their consoles sell. They don't care if their games sell. They just care about what's gonna bring in the most money, right? And look at what's selling right now. Obviously, Call of Duty, fucking Overwatch. Motherfucker, I forgot that these motherfuckers own Candy Crush. Hello?
That's what I was about
Did
to
we
say.
forget how
Yeah.
ridiculous that
They
shit
own
is?
that.
We could run through the list real quick
like-
of every game studio Microsoft now owns. This is as of January 2022, so this is not even updated. But they got ZeniMax Media, which was what they acquired for 7.5 billion, which is Bethesda, ZeniMax, and all of that. id Arcane. They made the proposal for Activision Blizzard, which is 68.7 billion, right? But that got blocked.
Right.
They own Rare. They own 343. They own the Coalition, who make the Gears of War franchise. They own Mojang, which actually produces Minecraft, and that's probably one of the most
That's good money
profitable
right there.
games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Theory, as
Ninja
Despair had
Theory.
mentioned. Playground Games, which makes Forza Horizon, Forza
Forza, yeah.
Motorsport. Undead Labs, which makes State of Decay. Compulsion Games, which makes The Happy Few and Contrast. Obsidian Entertainment, which is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and all of that. In
2.
Exile Entertainment, which is Wasteland 2, Torment, Tides of Numenera, and Wasteland 3, I guess. Double Fine, which is Psychonauts, Broken Age, Brutal Legend. And they didn't get this. They tried to buy Discord and they tried to buy Square Enix.
They tried to buy Square. Okay,
Um,
so I'm gonna go into a little history really quick. So
Okay.
we remember when the 360 and the PS3 launched, right? And Microsoft was trying to they tried this before. This is so funny because they tried to do things like this before, right? But it was on a smaller scale. Remember when they announced Tekken 6 was going to be on Xbox too, right? That was always a Sony thing. They announced that Final Fantasy 13 was going to be on Xbox. That was a big thing, right? They threw all this money at Japan. They just tossed just loads of money at Japan, right? At these Japanese studios to just get all their shit on 360 first. PS3 got it fucking 5 years later or whatever. I'll never forget. I had to get a 360 to play Tales of Vesperia. I had to get a 360 to play Eternal Sonata. I'm gonna name a bunch of RPGs motherfuckers probably never even heard of. Fucking Eternal Sonata was only on 360. Lost Odyssey was only on 360. Fucking what else? Blue Dragon was only on 360. So they were just throwing money at Japan, right? And guess what happened? The Xbox 360 flopped in Japan. After those first 2 years where those RPGs were old or whatever, that shit flopped in Japan after that because they stopped supporting it, right? So then we remember later on in the generation, everyone thought the 360 ran that generation when towards the end, people forgot the PS3 was the top selling console towards the end of the generation.
It was.
The 360 was great. We had
Yeah.
Xbox Live and we had all that shit. That was cool, right? But the PS3 actually came out on top because Xbox stopped supporting these games and shit that they were so gung ho on supporting in the beginning. They stopped supporting Japanese devs. They stopped supporting like the smaller. Remember Xbox Live Arcade? They stopped doing shit like that towards the
man,
end.
those were cool.
Yeah, they stopped doing shit like that. So Microsoft like tries to flex is big ass dick. They just flop it around, right? And say,
Supporting
yeah, let's
indie
just throw money. Yeah, let's throw money at these games so we can get people on board, and then say fuck them later. That's my biggest issue. That's why you look at all those studios that they own now, all those games that they quote unquote have in their stable that they don't do anything with. So it's like they buy Activision. My biggest fear is they buy this shit. We never gonna see anything but Call of Duty ever again. We're never gonna see Crash Bandicoot again. We're never gonna see Spyro again. We're never gonna see anything else but the top two money makers for them right now, which is Call of Duty, Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and fucking Overwatch. Right? That's it. Like I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to be a part of the future, but that's all I get from Activision. Especially when I just played Crash 4 a couple of years ago. Get the fuck out of here. Like I don't want to see that shit because I got burned by them already. I have a personal thing against like Microsoft shit because I got burned by them already. So I don't want to see any of that shit. Fuck them. Like I'm gonna play their games when they come out on Game Pass on PC. That's what I'm gonna do. I ain't buying an Xbox game console because what the fuck is the point of doing that shit? Fuck
There is no point. no, there is no point, and I think that their console, I guess their console, basically what they're pushing for in the console market is to have access for people to have access to the Game Pass now without having a PC. And just as far as the Game Pass goes, because people are under this perception that Microsoft is flopping. As far as Microsoft, they confirmed that they have over 25 million subscribers, and this is as of 2022. They claim they have over 25 million people subscribed to the Xbox Game Pass service. They have different variety of pricing, we all know, right? So they have like, what was it, the $10, $15, and but let's assume everyone is subbed at like $10.
That's $250 mil at least.
That's 250 million a month. 3 billion a year that they're bringing in on the Game Pass alone, and that's being conservative with it, right? Like they're not struggling, they're just pumping out games, and the Game Pass has been a huge success for them, and now they're just looking to pump out games on it, and they obviously don't care about the quality of the games.
I don't like this narrative they're pushing where like they push this narrative like Sony has been bullying them for the past like 4 years or something like that. Like if you look at some of the tweets that have come out over the past like year since that acquisition was since it started, this whole narrative they kept pushing was that, man, Sony is like this bully in the gaming industry. They go out and they pay all these devs and they get all this exclusive shit. And I'm like, didn't you guys do the same shit 2 generations ago? You did the same exact shit, and the only reason why it worked was because PS3 came out at $600. That's the only reason it worked. Because I guarantee you, if the PS3 launched it was not $600 and it was the same price as a 360.
It was 400.
Everybody
like
else,
it was 400. Yeah.
We would be seeing the same thing we're seeing right now, where Sony just took over. Because the PS3, the PS3 as a console was a way better console. Yeah, it was harder for third-party devs to develop games for because of the cell process and all that shit. But let's be real, as a console, that was a way better console than the 360 was. Like, it was just harder to optimize for. Which takes us to another. We could fucking segue that into other shit, but like, I just don't. The reason why I feel like a lot of people aren't really seeing this the way I'm seeing it, I guess, because it's more personal for me, because I'm that person where every generation I would buy every console, right? I would get all 3. I would get the Nintendo console, the Sony, and the Microsoft shit, right? Like I said earlier, it's the first generation where I don't see the point. And you said like Microsoft isn't flopping as a whole, right? But the Xbox game division is. So I do feel like we're gonna see a point where, and they're pushing it now. They're hinting at it now. We're gonna see a point where their whole shit is just dumping shit on Game Pass, right? Game Pass, cloud gaming. They're doing it now. That's what they're doing now. Like, you don't hear shit about the Series X and the Series S anymore. All you hear is about this game's gonna be on Game Pass next month, or play this game on Game Pass. Every time I see an ad about anything Xbox related, it's always a Game Pass ad. It's never Xbox Series X now $399 or whatever the fuck it is, right? I always see Game Pass ad. They don't give a fuck about the console fucking business anymore, bro.
They don't.
Which personally is smart on their end. I think it's smart on their end because look, man, I don't like consoles.
Let me tell you the exact moment when Xbox gave up on the console wars. It's when they were releasing what was it, the Xbox,
Xbox
One
One?
with the Connect.
Mhm.
With the Connect bullshit, and then when
Yep.
Sony dropped that 20-second ad of like, here's how you can share the games with your friends, and it just
Yeah.
as a dish to Xbox. Ever since that moment, they've never ever recovered from that moment from
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a console war perspective.
That's
They have
true.
not, and that's why they kind of they know they gave up on it. You know what I mean? Like
Phil Spencer said it. If you look at, I don't know, I think somebody posted it. He literally said they lost the generation that they had to win, basically. Like last generation was the generation where we kind of started shifting into different areas of gaming, right? Digital, we shifted heavily into digital stuff.
Yep.
Budgets of games just started becoming astronomical, right? It's the internet age, right, of gaming, and they lost that shit. But the irony is, in my opinion, right, they were ahead of the curve on a lot of shit. Their delivery was terrible. That was the problem. Like,
Yeah.
remember when they announced the Xbox One? They were like, always online. What was it? There was a whole bunch of other shit. It was a more expensive console. It was always online, and it was a bunch of other like random DRM checks, whatever the fuck. Y'all remember that whole fucking thing?
Yeah.
DRM, always online
And-
DRM.
Yeah, but keep in mind, that's where we're at right now. That's what we're doing. Like on PC especially, that's where we're at. And consoles are the same. You buy a disc to give you the license to play a game on consoles. Now, I don't know if people realize that, but a lot of the times you put a disc in your game, it installs to the console, and you have a license to play your game. It's the same shit. Like, so Microsoft was actually kind of on point with what they were doing at the time. Well, they were ahead of the time, I guess. But they had this motherfucker Don Matrick out on stage saying, well, if you don't got internet access, you should just stay on 360s, saying dumb shit like that. That kind of ruined their whole perception, right? Yeah, remember that shit? That ruined their whole perception.
Yeah.
He actually came out at E3 and was like, sorry guys, if you don't have a good internet connection, don't buy an Xbox One. It's not for you. Just stay on 360. Fuck you, dude. The hell?
Yeah.
They had to fire that guy, right? Like they must
Yeah,
have.
that
like,
was when they got rid of him. That's when he left and Phil Spencer came in. Yeah. Mhm.
Yo, it was
So,
the
like,
worst.
So I'm not gonna shit on Microsoft like everybody else loves to do, right? Because I'm like, I see where they come from most of the time. I just at the end of the day, I just want to play the games, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck what console it's on. I don't care how ugly the box is. Either I mean, like, I don't care what it looks like. I just want to play the games that I'm used to playing. I personally don't like exclusives anymore. Like, I feel like we should be all obviously in the console business, right? You have to have exclusives, but me personally, I think this shit is corny. Like, especially nowadays where we have this middle platform, which is the PC, right? And you could just play everything on a PC. Like, the only reason to buy a fucking okay, let's not even go there now.
Which by the way, secretly
exactly
Microsoft, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. See, that's why I'll never understand like the people that shit on Microsoft and all that shit, because I'm like, these motherfuckers are making money regardless. Every place you look, they're making money somewhere. Like, so they don't give a shit.
Like I
So-
said, they're $1 trillion business.
Mhm.
They have so much money that it just they're basically doing what you're saying.
We
They're
on
putting out
Windows right now. Like, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so
Some
it's
people
like,
got that
oh,
watermark on the bottom right though, but you know, hey,
I
we on
mean-
Windows.
Yeah. Look, man, all I want is my games to work well. And I
Exactly.
think that's a good segue.
Yeah, good segue
Yeah,
to our
I
games not
think-
working well.
I think
Like,
that's the problem. They have the games, they're trying to release the games, but they obviously don't seem to care at the state in which these games are dropping, which was the main thing about this whole Phil Spencer interview. They wanted to talk about how Redfall just dropped,
Mhm.
and it's not even just Redfall. I mean, we can talk about a lot of games. Like, there's a list of games that I have here. We have Hogwarts Legacy, which is probably like the least offensive of the bunch.
before we go into that, I
yeah.
do kind of want to relate that to what he said about Redfall specifically, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
He said what did he say exactly? He was saying something about how they don't want to put out like low quality games or whatever. And for some reason, people were like shitting on him for saying that. Like, they've been actually putting out some decent games at Microsoft Game Studio. They're just not like big, they're not big high budget games. Like, people forgot we literally just got Hi-Fi Rush. That was a Microsoft Studios like game. They funded that for Tango, right? Tango did that, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like-
Tango Gameworks. Yep.
So it's like, Redfall sucks, great, right? But I really do hate the internet like dogpiling on Microsoft as a whole and game studios as a whole just for this one game. That shit kind of tilted me a little bit. But go ahead, my fault.
No. But like it's just one of those things of like gamers be gamers, right? Like you're only as good as the last game you do. Like, you know what I mean? Like people are always gonna shit on the thing because it's the popular thing to do. People don't, want to have their own opinions. People say the game is trash, but they didn't play it for like 2 minutes. You're always gonna get people like that. So it's just one of those things where, yeah, man. So it's just
that shit is crazy to me, dude. And people wonder why we don't get devs that want to take risks and make. To be fair, this is not a good game to equate to taking risks because this game looks generic as fuck. But regardless, this is why devs don't take risks. This is why publishers pump out the same bullshit. They fund the same bullshit year after year because when people do try to make different games, you ignore it. Like people literally ignored Hi-Fi Rush. The game's reviewed well. Everyone was talking about that shit for like a good month, and then where's it now? Nobody cares now, right? I don't even remember how much the game sold. Like they didn't even talk about how much the game sold. I think it did pretty well,
concerning that it had no marketing.
Considering, considering that,
I think it outsold Forspoken. So that's saying something.
Did it? Yeah, I mean, it was like a $30 game.
I think the whole narrative on Twitter is that it was a failure when actually Microsoft came out and they're like, actually, this game is one of our better performing games of the year, and so stop it. But
I think this has to do with like a management problem within Microsoft more so than like, because I do believe Phil Spencer when he says like he wants to make high quality games. Like, why wouldn't you?
Phil Spencer was responsible for reviving Xbox. That shit was dead with Xbox One. So anything Phil Spencer says, I'm like, okay, I'll listen to what Phil Spencer says. Like, but I
have a problem with him. I mean, well, not necessarily like, I don't want it to come off the wrong way. I don't want to say like I have a problem with him being the one saying it. I just feel like he's making the PR statement and coming off as like I'm the fall guy when I don't really think it has anything to do with him unless he's the one that forced the game out the
It doesn't
gate.
have anything to do with him.
Yeah.
But the devs hide, like there has to be that guy, right?
Yeah,
like,
and I think
when you think about Microsoft stuff and Xbox, you think about him. Like, know his Twitter probably blew up, people fucking sending him death threats and all this other bullshit that I've seen. Like, you know how that shit goes. Like, so someone has to take the fall for it. Unfortunately, it's him.
Yeah, and it's not even like this isn't. At least I don't believe, like looking at the list of games, that it's specifically a Microsoft problem. This is more. It's been an Unreal Engine 4 problem, where games.
No. Bro,
PC
the performance
releases,
isn't even the problem. The performance isn't even the issue with this game. This game is just ass.
It's part of the issue, right? Like it's a game that definitely
sucks.
should not have released. It should have been delayed, and it's a shame because you look at the contrast of the last release that Arcane made, which was Deathloop, which was really good game.
Yeah, game of the year worthy game to this.
Yeah, it's a very
I
stark
wonder
contrast.
I wonder what was going on. Like what changed?
They got acquired by Microsoft.
I don't think that I legit do not think that that's enough for them to go from making quality games like that to this out of nowhere. Like, I feel like this is one of those games. You know how multiplayer games are, right? Like when multiplayer games are like the thing now. I think this is like a 4-player co-op thing. I don't remember. That's how these games are just pumped out nowadays. Remember we spoke about this like a couple weeks ago about how this is like the thing to do to just make money. You dump out these generic ass 4-player co-op. We were talking about Arkham. What was it? We were talking about
games as a service game. Suicide Squad.
Like
Suicide Squad.
This is like the thing to do now. This is like the FPS back in 2010, where every game had to be an FPS. They were all generic as fuck. Now you got these games, these 4-player co-op generic fucking games. Dead Island 2 came out. No one gives a fuck because that's the same ass shit as like every other game that's coming out, right? Ironically, performs better than every other recent release, but we didn't talk about that because the game. Like no one's talking, no one played the game, right?
Yeah.
Ironically, Dead Island 2 comes out and it performs better than all these other games. Like it performs better than Forspoken, performs better than Hogwarts, all this other shit. We can go into that now. I'm sorry. Like this shit, fucking, it's been tilting me for the past week, so I'm kind of like letting out a lot of fucking frustration. So,
it's been a game in development hell. Like what was it? Dead Island, right?
Yeah, because Star Wars. Because I'm more mad because Star Wars just dropped and I was hella hyped for that game and I wanted to buy it. And I don't even want to play it until it gets fixed. So that shit pissed me off. Like, because the game looks fucking amazing, right? But you best believe I ain't gonna sit here on my godlike ass PC and fucking have that shit chugging. I'm good.
No.
Like, what the
I
fuck
mean,
I
Yo,
spent
you
money
know-
on this shit for?
And,
Like,
it's funny because like it only chugs on high-end PCs. So out of all the
no, that
audience, you're
shit
gonna
chugs on
fucking spike.
everything.
Not talking
It
about
chugs
I
on
know,
everything.
I know. But like, the initial shit they dropped, they were like, "Oh, it's just only high PCs," and then later to find out, no, it's just literally everything. But there are a trend of like, oh, this thing doesn't work on high end PCs. So I don't know. I got like 3 questions. I'm like, one is, how are you making this game? B, like what are you expecting to play this game on and see, like,
That's backwards. The initial thing was it only worked if you had a 4090 or above. Like the whole trend has been these games that are coming out only perform well if you own the bleeding edge shit like a 4090 and 13900K and all that shit. That was what happened when the game it was like 2 days before the game dropped. That's what everyone said. And then 2 days later, we find out that even 4090s can't play the game. Like 4090s are getting like 45 FPS and shit like that. That was the issue. I remember reading about that. So it's what you said. It's just the other way around. Like, we obviously, when you play a game and you have like lower end hardware, it's a coin flip whether it's gonna run well or not, right? It shouldn't be no fucking coin flip when you spend what, $1,500 on a fucking 4090. You should, when you spend that money, when you drop that money, right, for a 4090 or whatever, you're saying, all right, I want the best. I want to play my shit at the best I can possibly play it. Boom, no questions asked. That's it, bruh. How the fuck a game that comes out doesn't even look? I don't even think that game looks better than what is it? A Plague's Tale? That the newest one that came out last year.
Oh,
it
definitely doesn't look better.
Hell no, nah. It doesn't even look close to that game. But that game ran, that game ran perfect for me. I don't know how it ran for you, but we got the same shit. That game ran perfectly for me, right?
I mean,
So
like, it ran well, but that shit was baking my PC though.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, that shit was making my shit like, but still, like, that's my issue. How do you have a game like that looks like that performs like that, right? On all types of hardware. Then you have this game that doesn't even look better than that, and then it runs worse on higher end shit. I don't know, bro. Like, what are these devs doing? And my biggest issue with that is, we were talking about this before, bro. The first game had the same exact problems. The fuck? Like, Fallen Order had the same exact problems, like literal stutter, the shader compilation stutter, fucking poor CPU optimization. So what are these devs doing, bruh? Like,
dude, I just don't understand, like, the thought process. Like, even from these executives have to be. Can I apply to be an executive, bro? Because I just feel like,
yeah, just sit there and do nothing. Just sit there with your legs folded on the table. Like,
bro, I'm just like, but like, if I'm an executive and then say I'm like, I make the decisions regarding this game, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, all right, the first one came out, there was a little bit of launch issues, whatever, but we got through it. The game seemed to hold up in spite of that, and we got lucky.
Yeah.
Why would I let the second one, the one where everyone's expecting to play? By the way, I'm supposed to be playing Star Wars today. This is May the 4th, right?
Facts.
Why the fuck would you even chance like a fuck up launch like that? And if you knew it was gonna be that way, which
delay
they knew,
shit. Like,
delay it.
Here's,
y'all remember back in the day? I'm sorry, Frank, hold on. Let me say real quick. Remember back in, it was like a couple. It was I think it was last generation where we kept having, everyone kept getting mad because we kept getting game delays. Games were getting delayed left and right, right? And I'm like, are you guys like fucking stupid? Like, I'd much rather have a delayed game. Does anybody remember the Nintendo quote? Nintendo said something. They were like, a delayed game is always like a better game or something like that.
A delayed game has a chance to be good, but a rush game is bad forever, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, damn, like, these motherfuckers, like, it's like Nintendo is like the furthest from where they used to be, right? They don't give a fuck about like games and shit anymore. Really, if you look at it on the grand scale, they don't really
$1 billion,
right? But why are they still like the only motherfuckers that understand how this shit works? Like, I don't get it, bro. Like, I just don't understand. My fault. Go ahead, Freak. Like, this shit's frustrating.
I was just gonna say, I think as far as like it's like, I guess the question would be from me, where does the fault lie? We don't know what happened behind closed doors, who's the decision maker, who's calling things out. I highly doubt, at least I would like to give good faith and would like to doubt that the devs are releasing the games and they're releasing it in this state knowingly. I think it is execs that are saying like, okay, what's the timeline on the release? Because then they're the ones that are speaking to the financial people and weighing the options to say, hey, if we delay this game, we have to pay this team to continue to work on it, and that's going to cost this much more money, which will put us over budget. And the execs say, no, we got to roll out the advertisement, let's push it through now. Does
It's
it run
always the
fine?
publishers,
Is it
bro.
okay?
Yeah.
And they're trusting in someone saying we can get it to run okay by day one. You
It's
know what I
always
mean?
the
Like,
publishers, dude.
and
Because the
somewhere,
publishers are going to be the ones to say,
Mhm.
yeah, you can release it like this day one. Just patch
Yeah.
it later. Like,
Yeah, and I'm
somewhere in
tired of
that
that fucking
timeline.
trend.
yeah, somewhere in that timeline, they've continued to do it. It's continued to fly. And I think people just need to stop pre-ordering games, I would say. Stop pre-ordering games, speak with your wallet. Do not buy a game. I know it's hard to do.
you know, it's not going to happen. That's
You know,
the sad part.
I know it's the
not
hard
I
thing
know,
to do.
bro.
I haven't pre-ordered a game in fucking feels like forever. I feel like the only games that I've pre-ordered and the only game that I'm probably looking to pre-order now is probably Street Fighter, and it's because everyone's
that's
going to be playing it. And it also looks like they've released a demo, they've released gameplay, they got people looking footage. On day one, unless there's barring some big catastrophe or a server
Yeah.
shutdown, it's going to be going well for them. Square Enix seems to have an idea of what the fuck they're doing with Final Fantasy 16. Pulse just brings it up. And because they already know, hey guys, PC release isn't dropping same day. It is going to be dropped a year later, probably because they know about these issues with Forspoken. They know about these issues from when they've done PC ports with Final Fantasy VII Remake, which also was a shitty PC port when it dropped, but eventually they fixed it, right? So I think that they already know that, and they're kind of working on it.
history of PC stuff from
Yeah.
FF14, so they should know better.
Yeah, so it seems like that they're the ones that are in the know right now, and the way they're staggering their release and the way they're working on things, it's kind of like we're not ready to release it until it's optimized, and that's the kind of thing that you want to see. I think with the rest of these games, it's really unfortunate, and it's just don't pre-order games, guys. Wait till you see someone play it, someone that you trust play it on day one. And if it runs well for them on day one, then you can go on and buy it. I mean, wait a couple hours, right? What's the worst that could happen? At the very least, you can see that right now, I didn't pre-order Star Wars. I'm not buying it until it's fixed. I want that game. I really want to play it. And it's unfortunate that I can't play it now because of the bullshit. But
I had to learn the hard way. That's the crazy shit, because
yeah.
y'all know me. I buy every game at launch. I used to pre-order everything. And this is the first year, or the first, like, maybe past 6 months, where I'm just like, what the fuck is the point? I'm gonna just wait. Like, there's literally no point. The only games, like you said, that I actually pre-ordered was Street Fighter, because I've already played the game. We already know the game runs great. Like you said, unless something, I don't know what the fuck, they'd have to fuck up tremendously for that game to launch like shit.
And even then, Capcom's been pretty good. Like, if something was that fucked up, they're like, a day later, they're like, all right, here it is, blah blah blah. You know, they're pretty quick on that.
Capcom
Fire
also has a
response
history of not releasing games that are not like they have some issues, but they're not shit.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars came out, like Resident Evil 4 just dropped, that runs fine. It has slight issues, but it's still like, it's not bad. Like, it's not, oh, I wasted $70 on this game. Like, Monster Hunter launches great, right? They have a history. They have a pretty decent track record. Weirdly enough, going back to Redfall, Arcane had a pretty decent track record with their previous games. Like, Dishonored was okay on PC. Fucking Deathloop was okay on PC. It had some issues on console, but I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's something going on where actually no, because Last of Us 2 dropped, bruh, and that shit was terrible. How
No,
does
Last
a
of Us
game
Part
like that, oh, part one, yeah, how does a
Part
game
one,
like
yeah.
that, with a budget like that, right, with as popular as that series is at this moment, with the TV series and all that shit, how they let that happen, bro? How
because
do
they
you
let Iron Galaxy handle
Okay,
the
no.
port, right?
Okay, here, no. Well, that's besides the point. Here's what actually happened. They didn't expect the show to do as well as it did, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we gotta drop this shit right now. We gotta follow up." And then they dropped the game. But regardless, even before then, that port of the one to the PS5, like, didn't it come out like fucking like 8 months ago before it even dropped on PC?
Yeah, and it ran well. It ran decently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it ran. So like, they knew
And
I
back
don't
to the
know.
Iron Galaxy thing. Iron Galaxy, the only issue that Iron Galaxy had was Arkham. Was it Arkham Knight or something like
That's a
that?
pretty big issue
Like
to
it
have,
is.
though.
It is. You're right. You're right. That's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
ridiculous.
That's a
the-
notoriously
But-
bad PC port.
It is absolutely. But they also released ports that weren't bad. So I'm not gonna say it was 100% their fault. My issue is I feel like devs just toss their games to studios like that. They'll just toss them out and be like, all right, just send it back to us when it's ready. Blah blah blah. Like they don't care. Like, but the issue is, right? God of War came out on PC. That shit was perfect, bro. That's still to this day one of the best PC ports of all time. That shit was amazing when that shit
Yeah.
dropped on PC.
But it also came out like 2 years after the fact, 3 years after the fact.
That game came out like 5 years later or something like that, bro.
Yeah, it definitely
It
came
was
out
a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Like so if the game dropped like 5 years after the fact, I mean,
That's not an
that should
excuse,
bit
bro.
better run like butter.
Last of Us 1 came out a decade ago, bro. I don't know about that.
Spider-Man
Like-
had some issues, but not like nothing crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Nah,
Like so,
but
Days,
they
same
were,
thing.
but they were
Last of Us
on it.
1.
They,
We're
Days-
forgetting Last of Us 1
Days
came out
Gone.
over 10 years ago.
Days
There's
Gone
no-
was
No,
also
but
a
I-
PC port.
I'm
and-
I'm talking about like the remake of was it Last of Us 1, right?
It's the same
Like-
game.
yeah, it's just-
No, well, they're using a different engine, right? So whatever. I
yeah,
get
all
it,
of the
but I'm just
pre-rendered
saying.
cutscenes are now in-game cutscenes, so it's definitely a big undertaking as far as like the remake was.
It's the same
I,
game.
I'd really love an insider's perspective. I would love if a dev who is responsible for porting, maybe we can have a guest come on to Freaks and Peaks or whenever we officially launch the podcast. Let's
No, I'ma
have
scare
a
'em
discussion on what the time frame is like. You don't have to
I'ma scare
reveal
those
any
motherfuckers away.
information. I would actually love to see what the inside view is, right? Like who says what, what's the communication, specifically when it's
Bro.
like a game that where you're given the source code and you're like, here you go, make a PC port. You know what I mean? Like,
Last of Us remake was absolutely a cash grab. What the fuck else would it be? Because that game
of course.
didn't even need a remake. Why the fuck is it even titled a remake? It's just
No.
port the shit. Like, bruh.
They
My
need-
That's
issue
all
is-
they needed to do.
here's my problem,
That's
right?
what they didn't do.
Here's the problem. We could talk about I don't care how old the game is, how new the game is. Motherfucker, Demon's Souls got a remake, and that game was fucking amazing. So
Yep.
what the fuck is everyone else's excuse? I don't want to hear shit. Like I don't want to hear any excuses about like for bad ports, bro, or bad remakes or anything. When Demon's Souls dropped, and that shit was well, let me not say it was flawless, but that shit was good enough. Like
Blue Point's work is phenomenal. though.
Yeah, Blue
Yeah.
Point. I don't think Blue Point's ever missed. Actually,
yo,
They
who
did.
did it was Nixus, I think. Nixus is another studio that's pretty good at like porting shit to PC. So I'm wondering if that Iron Galaxy, it could be hit or miss, right? Why are people not giving the money to like Nixus and like well then again, doesn't Sony own Blue Point now? So they can't
They
do
are.
that shit.
yep.
They are
Yep.
probably busy with other projects too. Like some
Oh,
game
okay.
development is in like
True. Yeah.
3 to 4 years, 5 years, and further.
Aren't we getting? Man, that's hella funny because aren't we getting a multiplayer? We're getting a multiplayer separate shit for The Last of Us, right? So
Yeah, that's what Naughty Dog's working on. That's the factions,
let's separate like from now on. Let's separate The Last of Us from like gaming discussions because that's like its own thing now. Last of
Yeah,
Us is
no,
like
absolutely.
just bullshit now to me because after the TV
Yeah.
show and it's all blowing up amongst all these casual motherfuckers, like get that shit out of my face.
It's
I don't-
now
like-
it's now a movement.
That's like its own thing, yeah.
Yeah, let it be a
Like,
movement.
But
I'm gonna move away from it.
yeah, like anything
Sorry.
tied to that motherfucker, I'm just like, all right, you guys do your thing over there. Last of Us is great.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. Like,
but let's just talk about like in general, like guys, like it's fucking. I think suicide from a sales perspective. I guess not quite that because it's buyer's fault, right? Because people keep buying the games that are in shitty conditions, which is why we always get this loop of shit.
but it's
right?
so fucking dumb because it's like that
Yeah.
shouldn't. Obviously, corporate greed is never gonna go away. That is always gonna be a thing
Not
as
gonna
long as
go
things
away.
make them money, right? As long as things make them money and people are gonna buy the stuff, it's never gonna change. But the problem for me is, how are you okay with like the bad faith, right? Like, there are situations where I feel like people got burned by Star Wars, right? I'm sure Star Wars still sold pretty well, but people are still talking about it, and people are still like shitting on it, right? So it's like, as a publisher, as a dev, I'm not even gonna blame the devs because the devs made a good game.
It's
right?
a
It
very
might not
well reviewed
function well.
game. It's
Yeah, but the game is good.
the performance is poor, but the game
Yeah.
is like it's getting 10 out of 10s. You know what I mean? Like,
So you know the people working on like the story of the game, the gameplay and all that shit, they're separate from the people that are like optimizing it for specific hardware and all other shit. That's different people doing different things, right? So I'm just wondering about like how do these people not care about the perception that they're gonna receive going into shit like this? Like I don't know. Obviously they don't care because they're gonna get paid anyway.
I think they do care, but I think they weigh like the risk. But I also think part of me says like it depends on who's truly genuine, right? Because you look at like what is it? I don't know why the studio is blanking on me for Cyberpunk, right? Because it kind of all started with Cyberpunk. Yeah, CD Projekt Red, where they started releasing. It became a meme where they started releasing these like yellow backed letters about the game being delayed, and then when it launched, sorry letters, like apology letters. Now it just seems like everyone is carbon copying those apology letters when the game releases in a bad state.
Oh my god!
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yo, real talk.
Redfall.
Hold on. Real talk. Doesn't it feel like all these companies are using Chat GPT to make the same apology bullshit?
Probably.
They're probably using Chat GPT to fucking optimize their games. Fucking idiot. Let me stop.
Same PR firm. Same PR firm was using Chat GPT, bro.
Yeah, they're using Chat. They're using AI to optimize
no, because
their games
it's just
shit.
like, hey guys, yeah, we're sorry that everyone's struggling to play the game in our system. As you know, in PC there are thousands of configurations. I literally saw that shit in like 3 different things.
Oh,
yo,
shit.
bro,
That opened up a whole new can of worms. Nah, I don't want to.
Yeah,
because we were talking about that shit in the chat in the Discord, right? And I try to stay away from conversations like that because for some reason I don't understand it. People are unable to look at things objectively, right? You're like, if you look at this from an objective standpoint, right? The game runs like shit on PC. Cool. You're gonna have the constant motherfucker saying, "Well, maybe you should be playing it on PC." You know, there's so many different configurations. You know, I'm like, shut the fuck up, bro. If you look at like Star Wars specifically, the game runs like ass on PS5 and consoles too. So what the fuck is the excuse there? You're optimizing for one piece of hardware. That's usually the argument, right? Like when we go back to like bad PC ports, they're like, well, there's so many different configurations, so many different this, so many different that.
I'm sorry, and there's always the cucks who say, well, I didn't have any problems running it, and it's like most of those motherfuckers don't even tell the difference between most of those motherfuckers can't tell the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS. They don't even know that their monitor's probably still running out of box at 30 hertz instead of.
Runs okay for me, bro. Full
60 runs fine for me.
Like
my monitor is like 30 hertz.
No, you're an idiot. Like, so I'll never. This is why we don't get anywhere, because we have idiots like that are like, nah, man, it's fine. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It's great for me. Like, and it, oh yeah, and then they make the excuse, yeah, we have so many different configurations, blah blah blah. If that's the case, why the console version shit too? Why was the console version of Star Wars ass? Why is the console version Hogwarts, like you said, is the least offended because that game was it ran better than the majority of the games on that list.
Yeah, it just had the stutter issues,
game?
right?
Callisto Protocol.
Whatever. They patched it very quickly though too.
Forspoken dropped. That shit was ass on everything, just consoles included.
Atomic
Heart. They patched that. That works now.
Atomic Heart
on PC wasn't bad. I can't speak for the console version, but
Wild Hearts.
Oh my god. That game. I don't even want to talk about that game.
Wolong.
Move on. That shit don't exist. Wolong, yeah, that too.
Like it's like there's been countless. You can literally run out of fingers trying to count all of the games that released with a shitty PC port or had stuttering issues. Because even if the game runs well, like Elden Ring, even like it was a game that like had just severe stuttering problems, where the best platform to play it on was the Steam Deck because it had Shutter compilation,
or play the PS4, the fucking
PS4 version on PS5, right? Oh
yeah.
My god! Like we as gamers should not have to deal with that or go through these roundabout methods to try and enjoy a game on a first playthrough. Like I think that's over. Delay the game, even if it's by a week, to implement stutter. I don't care what you do, whatever that day one patch is going to be. Then fucking delay your game.
You know when it makes me mad? You know what it makes me mad? When the game launches, right? And then 2, 3, 4 weeks later, the patch comes out and the game is fine. So you telling me you couldn't just wait? You couldn't delay the game a month?
Yeah, exactly. Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is a big one for that.
Bro, Forspoken came out, that game ran like complete dog shit. Couple weeks later, they patched the game. Bro, what the fuck? Game is perfect now.
I could be one of those cucks too, because when I was playing fucking Gotham Knights of Fala, I was streaming it to the Discord, and I was like, well, it's running fine if I have it set this way, but watch me do some traversal shit and look left or right, and the game I could make it stutter. Literally by looking. So I was like, I can make it perform well, I can make it stutter. So I was like, I could be one of those fucking guys that'd be like, oh, it runs fine for me, after I turn down all the settings and turn up DLSS a fucking ton.
And this is the issue, because it's gonna get worse.
It's gonna get worse.
We're in the beginning of the generation. It's already fucking shit. So imagine when the games start getting Unreal Engine 5 is already starting to turn off.
The hope is that Unreal Engine 5 does not have these issues, but
it will. It already has the issues apparently. Yeah. It already has like the shader issues and shit like that. So we'll see. I don't know.
Jesus.
Like,
well, and then also like don't release games. I'm gonna make an example of a game that's about to come out, and hopefully they listen, but they're not gonna listen. But don't release a game initially and then include like online like on later or whatever. Release the game once all the shit is out. And the game I'm talking about is that new Double Dragon beat 'em up game that just fucking got announced. So like they make it very specific. They're like, yeah, enjoy local co-op with your friends, you know. It's just like, bro, listen, what do you mean you're not gonna have online? And then I think somewhere within, I did a little bit of research. They said, oh, they're gonna put online a couple of months down the line. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not gonna buy your game then, because
I'll be honest.
Literally,
sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes that's like a marketing move where you release your game, it gets the publicity, you know, it's hype, whatever, and then, you know, people stop talking about it for after like a couple of weeks. So then, you know, you release something new, you release the next component, you release the multiplayer component, and people start talking about it again. So people start buying it again. Like that's sometimes that's a marketing thing, just to keep the fucking the game relevant, right?
I
like,
agree with you when it's not announced prior to the game releasing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's something that after the game is out, and then they're like, "Hey guys, we're releasing a new content patch," and then they do a trailer for the content patch, and it's like now includes online multiplayer. I agree with you there. That can be really cool to keep a game alive and everything. But if the game has just been announced with a trailer and it's yet to be released, and you're like, yeah, so multiplayer is coming later prior to the game releasing, don't do that. Don't do that. Just keep it quiet. Don't tell us shit.
GTA Online didn't launch until like what, a month or two after the game dropped or something like that. And I mean, and then when it launched, we know why that happened, because when it launched, that shit was broke.
Like did not work for a month. It didn't work for a month.
That shit was broke.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just don't like. They push stuff out the door because, you know, you got to meet the quotas for the fiscal year. You got to do all this shit, right? You got to fucking you got to meet deadlines. You got to like meet the budget requirements. You got to do all this shit, right? But the budgets for these games are already so damn high. What the fuck is the point, like, of releasing a game a month or two early? Like, just wait, motherfuckers. It's not like it's, if anything, more people are gonna buy your game if you just wait.
That's what
and
I'm
it
saying.
Releases in a good state. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't get it, bro.
Like, yeah, no, it's just what I don't understand, especially when it comes to like beat 'em ups, where like online is clearly fucking important still. And it's like, especially after TMNT Shredder's Revenge, like with the 6-player online work flawlessly.
This game, did we know anything about this before this announcement?
No.
Did we know
I
this
don't
was
believe
coming?
so.
Nope.
So why the fuck didn't they just wait? If no one knew about it anyway, why didn't they just wait? Like,
they could have just shadow dropped it, to be honest.
I can see if this was like, what's that game that we've been waiting for like fucking 80 years? The
Party Animals?
Yeah, I can see if it was like that, right? Where they announced that game 3 years ago, and we already know about it. We didn't know anything about this game, so why they could have just waited to announce it and then release it when it was ready. I've been so frustrated recently with the games that it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I don't even want to. Let me not say I don't want to play games anymore, but it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I personally want to just go back and play a bunch of old shit now because all the new shit's pissing me off. Like, and y'all know me, I'm the person that's like, yeah, man, I gotta get the new tech, I gotta get the new games when they drop, I gotta do all this shit, right? This is the first time where I'm like, I'm not even gonna buy a new GPU because what the fuck is the point? If the games that I'm buying don't even work, what's the point of me buying a new graphics card if this shit don't work?
Well, what's the point of you buying a graphics card if you don't even have fucking VRAM in that shit to run the games of? No.
Like, I mean, that's a different story because
Yeah,
like when you buy shit like that's a whole different conversation. But like when you
you know, it
buy
is.
like a 4090 or whatever, you expect to have the best. You expect your games to run amazing, right? Like if I'm gonna spend over $1,000 on a GPU and the shit ain't even, it's gonna be the same or worse performance than my 3080 right now. What the fuck is the point of buying it?
Yeah.
Like there's literally no point.
Funny story. I was like, I was looking at like a PC part picker, like a build list today. I was like, well, if I was to build a new system, right, to upgrade right now, just put everything together, and it's like 4080 and just DDR5 RAM, blah blah blah. And the day it was about like it was 2500 depending on what I wanted to get. Like this is a full system upgrade, right? Like I even put like new hard drives because of like it has enough space for me to add my current hard drives and then more space. So I'm just doing it because I'm thinking, well, like future-proofing content creation and shit like that, right? And I'm just like, I don't even feel comfortable making this purchase right now, just with the state of everything. Like, I just feel like I might as well just wait until the next system of cards and hope that games don't have this fucking issue. Like, what? Like, I don't know. It just makes me hit a pause on the whole thing.
Because sometimes what happens, like it used to be like, if a game wasn't optimized well, you could kind of brute force your way through it. Like if you had a powerful enough like PC, it wouldn't matter. You would still have like slight issues, but you could like brute force your way to like better performance, right? Nowadays, it don't matter what the fuck you have. Everything runs like ass. That's
Didn't
crazy.
that solve the issues with Spider-Man? They were like, yeah, Spider-Man on fucking PC port runs great if you put it on 4K
If
max
you have
settings
this, yeah,
with a 4090. It runs
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah,
like
you're just brute forcing your way through it.
Yeah.
Like now you got shader combinations that affects literally everything. Everything. And I'm like, I get it. It's an engine issue, but why are there some games that, have the have the fucking pre the shader compilation in the beginning of the game like that was, I mean, Spider-Man. Oh my God. Here's this is a big problem for me too. So Spider-Man launched, right? I don't remember specifically when it launched. It launched on PC. We find out it was like 2 years ago, right? Or was it last? Was it 2 years ago?
No, it's like last year. No, it's like last year.
Okay. So that launches on PC. It was a big deal about how the game it ran good, right? We noticed that it had the shader compilation in the beginning of the game when you start the game, so that you didn't really have all those stutters when you played the game. And then not too long after that, they released what was it? It was Sackboy. They released Sackboy on PC, right? And there's I think they didn't have the shader compilation in the beginning, right? And I'm like,
No.
y'all the same motherfuckers. Obviously, it's not the same devs, right? But it's like y'all under the same umbrella. It's all Sony shit. How do y'all not realize that you need this? How did they release the game on PC like that? Remember that? Remember when Sackboy came out? I don't know if y'all watched the video, but the digital founding video, the game was literally it was literally a slideshow. Like
that game had a weird camera bug issue too, where if you put like, I can't remember what it was, but it was something where if you didn't cap it to 60 FPS,
yeah, it would like stutter. Yeah,
it would
was
stutter.
Weird,
like
bro.
it was like it would run at a weird frame rate problem. It would have a weird frame rate sync issue.
So I'm like, so what's the reason behind not having pre-shader compilation and shit, bruh? How Call of Duty have that shit 5 years ago, and game still ain't doing that shit? If you want, it should be like a prerequisite for a fucking game with Unreal Engine on it to have that shit. Like, period. It's like Insomniac is the only dev nowadays that knows how to optimize games for shit. Why is that? What is wrong with people? like, bro, I look back to.
Sleep. Sorry, that's
you're right. They got like 50 billion games in the oven. Like, you're not wrong. Shut up. Wait,
they got the new Spider-Man game.
Wow.
They got the new Spider-Man game. They got that Wolverine game. They probably have another Rocket and Clank game.
He said Rocket
works. Wait, sorry.
But fucking,
whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
That's a good game to bring up because Ratchet and Clank launched on PS5 and that shit ran perfectly. There was nothing wrong with it. Hello? So it's clearly possible to make games that run well. What the fuck is going on?
I don't know, man. It's it just seems like a mess, man. It seems like a mess, and it doesn't seem like a trend is gonna end. And then we'd have to take. I think for this for them to drastically reassess how they release games, we would have to like and I hate to be those people, but we would have to boycott a couple of games and just not buy
It's not
them.
happening. Man, it's not happening. That's the shit that we
And
know.
that's
It's not
not
gonna happen.
happening.
Like, you know what's fucked
Yeah.
up? When I got friends that they the most casual motherfuckers on the planet. They don't know shit about frame rate. They don't know shit about like PC graphics settings and all this shit. When they hit me up and they're like, "Yo, can you help me figure out why my game is doing this? Why is it playing like a slideshow? Why is it stuttering like this?" And I have to say, that's just how it is. Like that's fucked up. That's how you know it's fucked. When you have people that usually don't even care are talking about how bad this shit runs. Like, that's crazy to me. Because you know, it used to be the case where it was a very small minority of people that would be like, "Yeah, man, if I can't play this game at 60 FPS or above, I ain't playing it. This shit is trash." Like that's like a minority of people, right? A lot of people don't even know what the fuck 30 FPS and all this other shit is. But nowadays, when you have people saying like, "Man, why is this game doing this? What the fuck's going on?" That's how you know it's a problem. So hopefully we do start seeing shit outside of these meme fucking posts from these devs. Like, "Yeah, man, sorry, we released the game in this state, blah, blah, blah." Hopefully we actually start seeing shit change, because it's starting to like piss me off, because I have never felt the way I feel about games now ever in my life, where I'm like disappointed. I'm constantly disappointed by shit. Because usually I'm the person where I'm like, I find enjoyment out of everything. And if I'm disappointed in this shit, it's like, fuck, man, something gotta be going on. Like,
Yo, you know what's weird to me when people make these reports? Oh, a game has gone gold, right? And then when they go live, the game is mad fucked up. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you guys finished working on the game. You guys declared it complete. Did you you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did y'all, what the fuck were y'all doing?
I
Usually when they say a
believe
game has gone gold, that just means they can play from start to back. They can play from start to finish, with no like glaring bugs and shit like that, right? That's usually all it means. And they have it. It's ready for packaging. That's what it is. It's ready for distribution. That's what going gold is.
I believe going gold now just means that it is confirmed good to be printed on a disc for distribution. Which games, as Despair had already brought up, games now on disc, it's not what you're even getting when you put that into your system day one.
A disc is your license
not,
to play the game now. Like,
yeah, well, I'm gonna need a new term like going platinum or some shit.
Dead ass.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I need a new standard, because this standard, as it's working right now,
no,
in
you know what the
today's
standard
world,
is?
not
The
fucking
standard
working.
the standard is finished and early access. That's it. That's the standard. Those are the two fucking game. Those are the two options, right? But obviously, a AAA developer is not going to label their game as early access, right? Because that kind of like diminishes the perceived quality of the game, right? You release a game and it has early access attached to it. People are like, well, that means it's not.
I don't want to buy that shit.
Like,
I don't buy it. I don't buy games like that in general.
I don't know. I do, because early access games run better than a lot of these fucking AAA games that are coming out and sucking ass. So I don't know.
I believe the early access tag for games now, specifically, I'm referring to the game specifically on Steam with an early access tag, are games from probably smaller studios that don't get as much funding, need to continue working on the game, so they just release it in an early access state so they can be forgiven for glaring bugs and performance issues and say, hey, you know, we're working on it, but they're still able to get profit and money from the game.
And a lot of those games are still in active development when they're in early access, and they're getting feedback from shit. So it makes more sense for those games to launch in better states, like when they're actually like, you know, when they're not in early access anymore, because they've been working on it the whole time and getting feedback from people. So I honestly would prefer, if you want to release a game early, put the early access label on it. Obviously not everyone's going to buy it. Most people are going to be like, all right, I'll play it when it's finished. But the thing is, that's how, if you're going to release a game, let's talk specifically on PC, right? If you're going to release a game on PC, I feel like putting early access is, if you do it for the right reason, right? Let's not label it early access just because we know it's not finished and we just want to get the money, right? But if it's on PC and it's launching on Steam, it should be labeled as an early access game if it runs like shit, like Star Wars or something like that, right? Because that's how you solve the issue of saying, yeah, there's hundreds and thousands and millions of configurations for PC that we can't possibly be ready to program for, right? That's how you solve the issue. You just throw it out there, you put it out there in early access, have people try it, and then you get that feedback from the people that it might run shit on a 3080, but it might run great on a fucking AMD GPU, right? You'll get that feedback, you'll know that, and then when the game actually does release, it might be fixed. I don't see the problem with doing that, which I feel like it's gonna happen. I feel like that might start happening. Like, I don't think we're gonna get the early access like labeling like per se, but I feel like actually now that I think about it, what happens to
Was
the
it
days getting
VIP
demos?
status?
Bro, what happens to
Call it
that's why we
VIP?
don't get that's why we don't get demos anymore, because they want to release games like this like shit and get the money early. Because I was just thinking
Yeah.
about that. What happened to demos where you could tell if a game was running like shit? We got like what? How many betas? We got 2 Street Fighter betas, a demo. We didn't need all that shit, but they want to make sure that their game got out there and that their game was working, right? And that everyone got a
But
chance to try the shit out.
There's
Like,
also a lot riding on Street Fighter 6 because
Yeah.
how much of an ass Street Fighter 5 was. So Capcom is trying to make sure that when it comes out, it's as best as it can be, but there's always going to be bugs either
that's
way.
true, but Capcom, they could have not released a beta, they could have not released a demo, and the majority, like I'd say 80% of the people that are interested in the game would buy the game anyway. Because let's exclude us from the conversation, right? Like hardcore
Mhm.
like fighting game players, right? The majority of people that would have saw, especially with the marketing that they're doing now and how cool the game looks, those motherfuckers would have bought the game anyway, right? They didn't have to give us a beta, they didn't have to give us a demo. They chose to do that because, you know, they want to get in good faith, right? They chose to do that. And we know that because no other devs have do this shit anymore. Barely any devs give you demos for games now. Period. Like you
No.
don't get that. Like, so I wouldn't really say that them having a lot riding on the game really impacted it. That was more so for like the competitive players, because you know the competitive players are gonna shit on shit. They're gonna destroy the game if it comes out and it's
Speaking of that, that's a good segue to. Well, I guess we should just talk about this shit, right?
Well, let's
Street Fighter?
we can talk about Street Fighter, but I know where Fallah's going. I was just gonna say, as far as like Street Fighter 5 may be ass, right? Like quote unquote, as far as like
Mhm.
game is concerned, but it's probably Capcom's biggest success in Street Fighter
Mhm.
today, right? So now I think they're just pushing the momentum of a demo. They're pushing the momentum of betas to make sure, and it's done nothing but build hype and steam for them for the release of Street Fighter 6.
You could tell they want everyone to be happy, not
They're
just
setting-
the casuals or not just the competitive players. They want everyone to be happy with
They're
this.
setting this game up
Like-
for the biggest success that they can, and it probably will be. But
Yeah, absolutely.
as far as
You can tell
early
already.
access is concerned, that's the segue that follows going to as far as Capcom banning those
Oh
who
shit.
have early
Yeah.
access proven, right? Wait, what was it? What was the phrasing on their post? It was concrete evidence of someone with a.
So if you're sorry,
If you're
all right, so
cracking,
basically, yeah. So basically, if Capcom sees physical proof of you cracking or
Mhm.
whatever, and you're a professional player, they're banning you for to compete.
Mhm.
Which is hilarious.
Yep.
Because you announcing that. See, I'm an asshole. See, if I was Capcom, damn, I'm a fucking dick. If I was Capcom,
You would've
right?
said shit.
When I wouldn't have said anything. I would have waited until these players like decided to, you know, register for the tournaments and all other shit. And I would have been like, oh wait, I think we remember seeing that you had access to this. No, because them announcing it, and it's not like they didn't say they were gonna ban the people that were cracking before the announcement. They made it seem like from then on, if they get any evidence that people are playing the crack beta, then they'll start, you know, taking action towards those players. Like, so the people that were playing the crack beta, all they gotta do now is just be careful. Like that didn't do shit. Like I don't think that's gonna do shit.
My honest opinion on the whole situation, before we get further into it, is that Capcom statement was just so they could say, "Hey guys, we hear you. We're doing something about it." But they're not.
It's just an umbrella
I
statement. Yeah,
doubt
they just
that
made
we
an
will
umbrella
ever
statement. Yeah, yeah.
see anyone get banned from Capcom unless it's a big fucking cancel this player movement like
Yeah,
we've
of
had
course.
before. But I don't think
Oh, yeah,
anyone's
so-
gonna get banned for the crack.
Let me lead this in. So before this all happened, everyone was kind of complaining like, "Hey man, so you know people who are playing the crack beta should not compete in competitive play for whatever reason they list, right? It doesn't matter." All of a sudden,
Christy.
Momochi, and I find this so, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'm
But
snitching
like,
on
all of a sudden,
everybody.
Momochi, I know. You know, who's like a famous Japanese player or whatever, was complaining like, man, people before he made this comment, like Capcom wasn't responding to this at all. And all of a sudden, when Momochi made this statement, all of a sudden Capcom dropped this statement that we were just talking about right here and there. And before Capcom responded, like how I felt about the Momochi thing, I was like, man, Momochi, like, I like him as a player. He's probably one of my favorite players in terms of like competitive to watch competitively. But goddamn, that's such an L take to me because it's like y'all were getting Street Fighter 4 and all the other Street Fighters fucking a year before fucking Americans got it.
That
Like
is
there was
very
no
true.
Yeah, their early
There was
access
no
was called arcade
fairness.
release.
That is true,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. That is bullshit. But to play devil's advocate, that was legal. Like they physically, Capcom physically released those games in Japan themselves earlier, right? Than we got it, right? That was, they did that themselves legally. So I do understand like them, like, fuck Momochi, like him saying it. It's like fuck him, like his personal take. I'm just saying, like in general, people playing the cracked beta is kind of sus because it's not legal to do. Like we're not supposed to be doing that, right? So it makes sense. Like let's say they didn't even decide to ban the tournament players, right? Let's just say that from a legal standpoint, like you know how Nintendo be like, Nintendo's going after motherfuckers right now for showing that they're playing Zelda, right? It's illegal to do. So to play devil's advocate, it does make sense for the cracked beta. For this situation, it's in itself, it makes sense. But for people to talk about the competitive integrity of it, shut the fuck
it's
up.
a bunch of bullshit. Like
shut
it's
the
a bunch
hell
of
up.
bullshit.
Like
First of all, like to me, it doesn't make any sense because it's like people make it seem like, oh, I could be better than you if I had more time in the game. I'm like, yeah, for some people only need a week.
that's a tale as old as time, bro. People will always say shit like that. If I played this as much as you, I would be just as godlike as you. Know, motherfucker. You shut the hell up.
No, it's not
Like,
true at all, bro. It's just like, bro, you could have 7 years. There's some people I could play. I'm like, bro, you could have 7 years to play the game on me. You still not gonna. You're
like
still
Capcom,
not gonna beat
like
me.
Capcom, come get me. I don't give a fuck. I've been playing the crack, but I've been playing the crack because I want to just play the game. Like I like the beta. The game is fun as shit. I just wanted to keep playing the game. I don't give a fuck about competing and shit, but it's fun, right? So I just wanted to play the game. You have motherfuckers that are out here like sweating their asses off. Like, oh man, let me go in there and learn everything I can. Oh shit, I got the crack. Oh, scratching their neck, all this shit, right? Like thinking that when day one hits, that first tournament hits, they're gonna body everybody. Motherfucker, the godlike players are gonna pick up that game week one and body your shit anyway because they're good, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's it doesn't matter, bruh. I remember when Guilty Gear Xrd dropped, right? All my homies was getting that shit hella early. I was like, they were like, yo, man, I got the game early, bro. You about to get bodied, bro. I was like, all right, cool. That's what's up. The game drops. I wait. I get the game. I get the Japanese version. Like that shit came out like 2 weeks earlier. I got the Japanese version. I was like, yo, what's up, man? Y'all trying to play? Bodied their asses. No practice for like an hour or whatever. That shit ain't gonna make you better, bro. Like, so for the people that are complaining about that, I'm like, bro,
It's a bunch of bullshit.
y'all gonna get smoked anyway. Like, just shut the fuck up.
Bro,
Stop it.
And that was kind of like my thought process on it was just like, bro, if they weren't complaining about the crack beta, they were gonna make excuses no matter what. Anyway,
It's gonna be a character that's gonna be busted. Like now the whole thing is, I can't fucking wait for everybody to start bitching about JP if he's busted. I can't wait. I'm gonna be fucking. I'm gonna keep playing him. I'm gonna talk hella shit too. Fuck all you. Like that.
But I'm okay with it.
Deep.
You know, but I'm also old school. Like I write, you know, like if I find a bad matchup, I'm gonna write it out no matter what. I'm gonna be whatever, pissy or whatever, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna go to the internet immediately and be like,
yeah, as long as the game ain't shit.
Blah, blah, blah.
Every competitive game is gonna have something that's godlike, and everybody's gonna complain about it, and it's gonna get nerfed or it's not or not, and we're gonna move on. Like that's just how it is. This whole thing, once that day one release comes, no one's even gonna give a fuck. They're gonna be like, because I'll be honest with you, I have friends that I know that aren't playing the crack beta that I know day one comes, they're gonna be just as good as me probably, or learn just as quick. Like I barely even play the shit anymore because I'm like, all right, I'll just wait for the game to drop, right? So it's like the whole competitive integrity argument for me has always been bullshit. Because there are always, you have no idea what people are doing behind the scenes on their own time. Remember back in the day when what did they say? Yo, what was the quote? I'm sure we all know this because we all been in the scene for a hot minute. What was the shit? Save that shit for nationals, right? Where motherfuckers would literally fucking
Save
have the
tech,
most,
save
have
tech,
the most
Save the
broken
tech for
shit,
national.
have all that shit, right? And then not say anything. It could be like a crazy game breaking whatever, right? They wouldn't say shit until a tournament comes, and then that was it. Boom, bust out all the cheap bullshit, right? So there's always gonna be something like going on like this. That's just competition. That's just what it is. Like,
Yeah, week 1, everybody's gonna be saying ban the crackers like they were saying in for Injustice. Remember ban the testers?
oh my god, bruh, that shit
Yeah.
was OD. Like,
And
remember
then-
they were like, we got to ban Combo Fiend because he was working on Street Fighter 5, all that other shit. I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here, bro.
No, first of all, Combo Thing would have botted you regardless.
Exactly.
Combo Fiend's
the
just gonna
fuck?
body because he's better than you, not because he had access to the game. Like,
I
and
think
then
that dude just
after
placed really high in SNK recently.
after a
Like,
month,
it just came out
Combo
of
Fiend was
woodworks.
getting his fucking ass beat by people who got the game at launch anyway. So it's like, you know, like it just takes a couple
It's always
weeks.
the nobodies. It's always the
Yeah.
nobodies complaining about shit like that to me. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Well,
That
and then the
motherfucker's gonna
other
get
thing
stomped
is, well, it's just like, okay, so like you see where they're coming from in terms of like legal versus illegal, right?
Mhm,
Like you were
mhm.
mentioning about that. But then, all right, so technically, can we talk about all these pro tournament players who are going to get the game early, by the way,
Mhm.
due to legal copies of Capcom officially giving them illegal copies of the game, right?
Well, Capcom gives
like-
it's not really illegal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
there's no illegal argument, but
Mhm.
they are gonna get the game before you.
Mhm.
So, but you guys watch them complain about that too. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this
you know
one
what's
got the
interesting
game
about
early.
that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what's interesting
Yeah.
about that? That's gonna happen. Yeah, that's gonna happen anyway because you're gonna have motherfuckers in New York playing that shit 2 weeks early. Listen. I might go up there and get my copy early too. I don't give a fuck. But like, that's gonna happen. What else? Obviously, you're gonna have people, content creators and all that shit getting their copies of the game early.
Mhm.
They got previews. We just had the preview videos coming out. They got previews, played the game for a couple hours or whatever, right? We
I'm
gonna ban
convinced
them?
Max has
Like,
the game.
yeah, we gonna
I'm
ban
convinced
them?
Max has the game.
Like,
Yeah.
what's the precedent? What's the precedent that we set for this shit? Like,
Yeah.
none, because there is no precedent. There's always gonna be some bullshit. Like, just accept it and move on.
I mean, but
Like-
that's like life, right? Like, we're not all
Yeah.
placed on an even playing field. It's never been that way.
Bro, in sports,
why
you got
you expect
motherfuckers.
it?
You got motherfuckers huffing
Yeah.
shit on steroids. It's never an equal playing field. Like, get good,
Never.
get as good as you can get. Call it. See what you can do. Call it. a
Do
day.
your
Like,
best,
yeah.
and then exactly. You know, people are like, "Oh man, they're gonna be so much ahead of us in the first month." I'm like, bro, you have a month. You know how much you're gonna accomplish in a month of fucking training? Like,
People want this shit to be as people want quote unquote esports. They want this shit to be as close to fucking real sports as it can be. Motherfucker, ain't nobody playing on no goddamn even playing field in real sports, my guy. Get the fuck out of here. Like, you might think they
Yeah.
are, you just don't know. You might not know it yet, but the story's gonna come out one day. Somebody's on steroids. Someone's doing these performance enhancing drugs or whatever the fuck. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like.
yeah,
That's
And then
why I stopped caring about FGC news, because for some reason, every other competitive game, you don't really hear shit like this all the time, right? But when it comes to fighting games, for some reason, it's always some big fucking hyperbole. It's just always blown out of proportions for some reason. What the fuck? I don't understand it. Like, are people that
Yeah.
desperate? The FGC is that desperate for attention that we got to just
Kind
make
of.
a big deal out of everything? That's just crazy.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
It's a cycle
Probably
of
right,
the same
yeah.
thing over and over again too, right? Like,
Mhm,
it's the
mhm.
same big deal that's gonna be made over the same issues.
I've been in
Yeah.
so many different competitive environments, and FGC be the worst with some of this shit. Like, I'm like, bruh, play your game, get as good as you can get in the game, play your best,
Do
call it a
do
day.
your best.
If you suck, you suck. Get better or quit. Like, it's that simple. Like, you don't like
Yeah.
if you don't like people having advantages or whatever, motherfucker, there's always gonna be an inherent advantage, whether it's someone playing better than you on an arcade stick, or they have like a hitbox or
Box.
some shit. Like, they got a 144 hertz monitor, all that shit. Like, there's always
Or-
gonna be some type of advantage. Like,
Or even as something as simple as all the best players kind of playing together, and then you don't know anyone, and so like
Exactly.
they have the leg up in terms of like matchup experience or so and so whatever, or access
like you
to
live in a goddamn
better
desert
competition.
wasteland,
Yeah.
and you have shit internet, but you don't have a local community to fucking go play with. Like, come on, bro. What is this kid shit? I'll never understand it. I'll never understand. because you
No
know this
idea.
game's gonna come out and this shit gonna be fire, right? So I'm hoping that the quality of the game is enough to just drown out all this other bullshit that people are trying to like perpetuate. Like, just shut up. Let the game come out, be good, do what you gotta do. Like,
yeah, and just let like casuals fucking enjoy the shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
This game, this game about to be fire, bro. Like,
Bro,
I haven't been this hype for a fighting game in like 6-7 years. Like,
yo, it's just gonna, dude. I'm just gonna be satisfied with the game, just going around hitting people in the fucking face and
just
taking their
uppercutting
money.
people on the street.
like honestly, like they had me there. The fact that this game has all this other shit is just like
I get to live out. I get to live out one of my dreams, just being able to legally go outside and just uppercut people. Like, come on, bro. Like, you know how many times I wish I could just go outside and just uppercut somebody? Like, come on, bro.
I will say the game looks nice. The game, it looks like it performs well. They got everything optimized, ready to go. And like I said, barring some catastrophe by launch day,
Could you
it's
imagine?
looking to be probably one of the biggest
everyone
launches in
complaining
fighting
against
game
Geef.
history.
I already know.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I already know. It's gonna
I mean,
come out.
that's
Everyone's
gonna
gonna
be-
complain against
I think it's gonna be JP.
That's gonna be people
I think
complaining.
it's gonna be
and
JP
Manon.
too.
I think it's gonna be Manon and Manon.
Manon, yeah, it's gonna be.
But the
people
thing
complain
is,
about
I
all
feel
this.
like JP, they're gonna complain about JP about a month in, because I do feel like JP would take, like, I don't know, at least a little bit
That
of time.
motherfucker gonna take a week. You know, you gonna see the goddamn Twitter
Yeah.
fucking clips coming out.
Yeah.
Like
We'll see.
The first couple weeks. Like,
We can talk about like early tier lists and all
Yeah,
that
I'm
shit when the
alive.
game finally drops. We'll probably have some Street Fighter
Lord.
specific
All right,
content coming
I
out.
guess we can start. We could just start clout farming now, and just since we're already doing the podcast, you might as well just start clout farming and putting up bullshit tier lists and all this other crap. Like,
So dumb.
We'll talk
Like-
about content, but we will be
Like-
releasing some Street Fighter specific content, depending on what we determine that is. But yeah, again, like this is probably the only game that I've pre-ordered since. Sheesh, I think it was Strive. I think was the last game I pre-ordered, which was also a fighting game, which I
the last
regret
game I
pre-ordering it
pre-ordered?
because it was pretty shitty on release.
I think the last game I pre-ordered. Damn, I don't know. Was it
I'm
Elden
trying
Ring?
to
I
think.
think it was Elden Ring.
so.
I think RE4 might have been the last one.
Oh
I
yeah,
pre-ordered.
RE4. You're right. I forgot I pre-ordered that.
Oh,
'cause
yes, I
I
did
pre-ordered like a
pre-order that,
fucking
but
year
I
ago. Like,
think that we pre-ordered because at that point
mean,
they also,
because-
but the thing is they also released a demo. We also knew the game was running well on PC and console
yeah, I
alike.
pre-ordered RE4 remake like when it got announced. I
Yeah.
was like, ain't no way I'm not buying it. Like, it don't
Before
matter.
before that, I don't think I pre-ordered anything for a long time. I usually wait until I might buy games day one, but that's when I could confirm like, hey, it worked
Yeah.
well. Like Dead
And
Space,
you
I bought
see-
it.
You
day
see,
one.
there's the ignorant consumer in me, right?
Mhm.
Like RE4 got announced. I was like, this game can run like complete dog shit, but it's RE4. I'm still gonna buy it and I'm still gonna play it. Like, there's the problem in itself. Like, we're all part of the problem. I know for a fact if Resident Evil 4 ran like shit, I still would be playing it because I just wanted to play the game. I love the game. Like,
Yeah,
That's the sad
I
part.
feel, but also, you know, like there's so many diehard people in the mod scene for RE. It's like if that game
True,
is
true, true.
broken,
yeah.
they're gonna
Yeah.
fucking
That was like Sonic Frontiers,
MacGyver
right?
that shit together. For Sonic Frontiers
came
and
out.
for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
FF16. FF16 could come out, and for all intents and purposes, that game could be complete dog shit. That game can run like complete ass, right? I don't give a fuck. It's Final Fantasy 16. FF15, yeah. Like FF15 came out, that game ran like ass on everything.
Mhm.
I didn't give a fuck. I enjoyed the shit out of it because it's FF15, right?
But
So,
you know,
like-
but like when it comes to like pre-ordering games though, you have to make a safe bet. RE4 was a safe bet for like two reasons. A, it was fucking RE4, and everyone was gonna give it like the fucking ice, like you know, like there's
Mhm.
no way they were gonna let Capcom let that game be shitty. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, so like Capcom even knew they were gonna be lazy with that one. Like they couldn't. Like that's the game. Like if you're gonna put all your grade A talent into a
Mhm,
box, that's the game you do it for, right? Like even then, right? I think I told you guys before, like I wasn't excited for like RE4 remake because I wanted other RE games, but I get it. like I'm gonna get the game. I'm not
I
gonna
was
say
excited
no.
for. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was excited for FF7 remake, but I wasn't going crazy like everyone else was. I was like, yeah, cool, FF7. Like, that's what's up. And it happened. The game
Mhm.
came out and it was great, right? But
Mhm.
that's, I guess everyone has like that series or whatever where when the shit drop, it don't matter how if it's ass, we gonna play it anyway. Like fucking FF16 drop, playing that shit regardless. Street Fighter 6
Well,
drop,
you know,
playing that shit regardless.
all
Fucking,
those Pokemon fans, all of them.
Yeah, I've bought every single Pokemon every single year, and I don't give a fuck. But that's just because that's like a family thing for me. So like I play with like my girl and her cousin and shit. Like we do that like every year, so that's different for me. But like this, you know, that's funny you brought that up because this last Pokemon game was the first game that we played and we were like, this shit fucking sucks. Like, because normally we just ignore all this shit and we're like, okay, it's just we're just having fun. This is the first time we were like, this shit is kind of ass. Like, what the fuck is going on? So now when the next one drops, we're probably gonna be like, we'll wait. Like, that shit sucks.
Yeah.
Like, that shit fucking sucks to think about because it's just disappointing.
Yeah, man. It is. It's definitely disappointing, and it's kind of like, man.
I don't usually
like,
regret buying
it
shit.
could kill
That was the
us.
first. That was one of my only regrets.
Man.
Like buying, what was it, Violet, Scarlet, whatever. I was like, man, why did I buy this game? Especially when you look at the redacted version of the game on PC, right? You know, emulate it, but it's like, damn, bro, what the fuck were they doing? And it's even worse for shit like that because that's $1 billion fucking franchise, bro. Like, they ain't got no reason for Pokemon to still be looking like it's in the Stone Age. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, that has more. Well, I was gonna blame it on Nintendo, but it's not Nintendo.
It's not Nintendo. That's Game Freak. You want to talk about? Yo, we were talking about corporate greed. Pokemon is literal corporate greed, bro. Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
Holy shit.
But I will say, people who like Pokemon are kind of dumb. Like in that sense,
dumb.
because
absolutely.
absolutely.
I'm dumb as shit. Like, I'm gonna buy it.
Yep.
Look, I just said all that. I'm probably still gonna buy it next year.
You're gonna buy it next year, bro.
Like,
but then you're expecting a bunch of changes of like, bro, well, you're giving them no reason to change
because Pokemon has not changed at all in the past fucking since
30 years,
since X and Y, right?
30 years
hasn't changed at all, right? And I know this, but I still expect the same experience from Pokemon, right? Like, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna play this shit with the homies. I'm gonna bust their ass, right? We gonna. I almost said something hella sus. Fucking, but we gonna breed the Pokemon and shit, right? Fucking, that's because that's Pokemon is like you know how we talk about people that buy 2K every year and Madden every year. I'm all like, yeah, it's the same game, and we give them shit, right? But for me personally, that's like Pokemon for me. I know it's gonna be shit. I know it's gonna be the same thing next year, but it's just, I don't know. It's like Call of Duty, right? We know it's gonna be shit. We know it's coming. We know a new one's coming out this year or next year, right? And we probably gonna buy it. Like, that's the problem. Like,
bro. So just for context, because I know you guys don't know about this. After 2 years of just fucking dumb, like playing Call of Duty, like in the Discord, I finally cave and I buy Call of Duty. So I'm playing the game.
Like a week.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, my point is, I'm playing this and then I'm like, man, this game is a bunch of bullshit. Yeah. It's like, I hate this game. And then you guys are like, yeah, we hate the game too. I'm like, so why are we playing it? And it's like, it's Call of Duty.
I don't know. It's Call of Duty, bro. Like, it's just like a habit now. Like, you just get into the habit of playing shit. It's like, if you feel, I feel empty. If I don't have my Call of Duty, like, I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I didn't buy the last 2 Call of Duty games, right? And then when I got this game, I was like, damn, I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm home again. Like, that shit felt empty, kind of. Like, so it's like, damn, I missed a year of Pokemon. Like, I feel like I missed out, like, or some bullshit like that. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like we get caught up in the bullshit. It's hella easy for us to get caught up in all this shit because at the end of the day, we just enjoy playing games, right? So it's like, I don't want to be like, oh, I can't buy this game because it launched like shit, bro. It feels like, bro, I had Steam open, ready to go to download fucking Star Wars when it dropped. I'm so glad I didn't, but it also felt like shit because I was like, fuck, I want to play this game. Like,
bro, that night, well, wasn't I talking to you guys? I was like, bro, I like, we have to cut the podcast early, bro.
Yeah, I was like, man,
we gotta go.
Came out, we got off negative reviews.
Yeah, I was like, I want to play this shit. And yo, that's a meme in itself now, because it's like, now you gotta go on Steam reviews and see how negative the shits are before you even buy a game now. Like, you gotta be like, oh, yeah, all negative. Damn, let's scroll down and see all the meme comments. Like,
yeah, well, and it was crazy because like it came out like you know what? They didn't have that day one patch. We were all like, not.
Wait a minute. You know what? Now that I think about it, it just got passed on Tuesday or some shit, didn't it? Did that fix anything?
Yeah.
No, but I think
Let's
they
look.
stated that it's going to take several patches to fix things. I think that fixed some stuff, but obviously I think it's having severe issues
frustrating,
where
man.
it's going to be at least a month worth of patches from what Digital Foundry was saying.
Meanwhile,
As
we
Digital
got Street
Foundry,
Fighter
I
6
trust them to
dropping.
know the most on that
Meanwhile,
kind of
we got
stuff.
SF6 dropping, and that shit has no issues whatsoever, right? Like, come on, bro. It's just people say it's not laziness. People every time I say that people are lazy, people always get combative and get defensive. I'm like, why y'all trying to come to the defense of these motherfuckers that are making millions of dollars and you ain't getting none of that money? So what are you defending them for?
It's like the
you
meme
ain't
of the
making
person
money.
that's throwing themselves
Like-
in front of the gas station attendant who's the fucking $1 million corporation.
Like,
to
are you
take the
stupid or
bullets.
something? Like you defending these motherfuckers? They don't give a fuck about you. Clearly, because they're releasing games knowing you're gonna buy it, running like shit. They don't give a fuck about you. People always be like, nah, man, I doubt that they're lazy, bro. You know, this is fucking, there's a billion configurations to develop. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. Unless you're getting paid to say that shit, I don't want to hear none of that shit. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite gaming podcast. No longer around anymore. It was Epic Battle Axe. They always used to say, speak with your wallets. I will always say, speak with your wallets. That being said, I think that's going to bring this episode of Freaks and Peaks to an end. We're going to continue with the stream. We'll still talk some shit for anybody who wants to stick around, but that's going to be the end for the podcast version of YouTube. But for those of you who want to check out the live stream VOD, check it out on Twitch, and you can see the full VOD in its entirety. But for those of you on YouTube, you just checked out Freaks and Peaks episode whatever, episode whenever, and then we'll catch you on the next one next week. And whenever we officially launch, we'll let you guys know. You'll be the first to know.
let's talk about some more pleasant shit on the next podcast, so I don't take over the shit being
Yeah.
frustrated the whole damn time.
Hopefully we'll have some good news next week. I mean, we already got
maybe.
Amarath being
Hopefully.
banned, so I don't even know.
Oh,
But anyway,
Yeah, I don't.
check you guys next time.
So why still? Well, because he thought it was good sport. Because some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
You know what? Fuck it for science.
Ashley!
Yeah, what up now? Yes! Ah, we did it, boys. Yes! We fucking did it. Outro achieved.